All right, so we have right now a nice amount of students connected. We told students that it's going to start at 6:30. So what I'm going to do is this session is being recorded, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you, Dr. Alvarez, to the student body that has connected, and then I'll hand the reins over to you, and you take it from there. Is that
Sounds good.
okay, Dr. Uh, Bonageri?
Yes, yeah, that's perfect, Dr. Hernandez. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you so
perfect.
much.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Along
And
with
thank you,
Dr.
Dr. Alvarez. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, yes. Alongside of Dr. Uh, Bonageri, I'm Dr. Felix Hernandez. Um, Both I and Dr. Bonageri, we are the committee members of the Tech Talk Committee, and we like to provide as many opportunities for students to get introduced to industry experts like Dr. Alvarez and invite them to speak to our student body. And speaking about Dr. Alvarez, Dr. Gary Alvarez, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing him. He's a distinguished IT professional with 40 plus years of diverse experience, including 2 decades on Wall Street, my hometown in New York City, his hometown in New York City as well, as a system designer for the New York and American stock exchanges. His career spans leadership roles in aerospace, IT operations at organizations like Northrop Grumman and NASA. He also holds advanced degrees in information technology and certifications such as Security Plus and the Cisco CCNA, making him an expert, a leading expert in AI, robotics, cybersecurity, and STEM advocacy. So with that being said, thank you, Dr. Alvarez, for speaking to our student body, and I will hand the reins over to you.
Wow, thank you so much, Felix. With that
My pleasure.
intro, I'm like, who are you talking about? Man,
Now, you
you
deserve
know,
all the
I guess I'm
accolades.
that old.
No, you deserve all the accolades being a
Oh,
veteran in the
thank you.
field, for sure.
Yeah, I've been around a while, from Wall Street to Main Street to aerospace. Yeah,
All
I've
right.
I've been around.
Yeah,
All right,
interesting
so
background.
let's
So I'll pass the reins over to you and you take it from there.
thank you. Thank you. All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Georgia Gwinnett University, for inviting me to speak with you today about robotics and artificial intelligence. Can everybody see the next screen here that features Hal, Hal 9000 and um so again, as Dr. Felix Hernandez mentioned, my name is Dr. Gary Alvarez, and I'm an adjunct professor of information technology for Valencia College, Millikan University, and Southern New Hampshire University. I have a BS in computer science, a master's in IT management, doctorate in cybersecurity. Over the last years, I've spent my time with IT, robotics, artificial intelligence, where 17 years of that was working for aerospace, the military, and NASA. And for the next few minutes, we're going to touch briefly on the current state of robotics, AI, where uh, they're being used, and how you can get involved. Okay, I'm sure you all remember the way robots were depicted on TV and in the movies not too long ago. Usually they were either benign, somewhat helpful, or wanted to kill you for some reason. Most of the time they were cold, no emotion, and only had basic information to give. They were impersonal and hard to like, and no one thought that we'd be seeing any of them within our lifetimes. However, with the advent of new technology these last few years, we have made great strides in advancement in both robotics and artificial intelligence. We can't yet create the $6 million man, which by the way would be worth about 60 million in today's dollars. But we are starting to see the beginnings of rudimentary robots that are beginning to help us with our day-to-day tasks and weed through vast amounts of data so that we can produce conclusions not so quickly obtainable before. So what's robotics? Robotics is the branch of technology that deals with the design, construction, operation, and application of robotics. Robots are machines programmed to carry out tasks automatically, often with human-like capabilities. They can be found in various fields such as manufacturing, healthcare, and the military, to name just a few. This slide lists some of the areas in which and each field that uses robotics extensively. If we look at manufacturing, one of those items is warehouse searching, like Amazon. Amazon is actually one of the pioneers in this area, and they've taken this technology to new heights. Of course, we all love getting our Amazon
We do.
packages on time. Well, having that technology be good and work correctly and efficiently is one of the reasons why, if you're a Prime member, you can get your package in like 2 days. If we look at the military, drones are the big thing right now. Aside from them falling out of the sky and landing on people's heads, unfortunately, when they're not programmed correctly, drones are amazing. The things that they could do now, especially on the military side, is pretty incredible. Some of the biggest advancements in AI and robotics have heavily influenced the medical field, allowing greater advances in prosthetics, which is the science of building replacement body parts when people have missing limbs and sensory issues like sight and hearing. Here in the pictures, we see prosthetic legs, arms, eyes, hip joints, and hands. In the aerospace field, which is where I'm from, robotics has allowed engineers to build launch vehicles at a faster pace and has used AI to help automate those tasks, which need speed and quick calculation adjustments to help land rockets on platforms, such as SpaceX has done with Starship, booster rockets, and the Falcon 9. Human thought process they can be pretty quick, but are way too slow to produce the very fast calculations it takes to adjust a rocket's trajectory to allow for it to land on a platform from space or high altitude, especially when that platform is on a moving ocean-based platform. Quantum computing. Well, quantum computers are some of the fastest computing machines ever built. Regular computers use bits like ones and zeros to represent electrical pulses, which make up its machine language, the basis for our computer data and programming languages. Quantum computers, however, use qubits, which are subatomic particles such as electrons or photons. Qubits can represent numerous possible combinations of bits while allow the ability to be in multiple states called superposition. This allows the processor to crunch through vast amounts of numbers for potential outcomes simultaneously, which includes distance processing, allowing for teleportation of data in real time between non-connected computers. This new process allows quantum computers to produce answers and scenarios much faster than the computers we all use today. Robots can monitor health and provide elderly people with companionship these days. In the medical field, they assist doctors with surgical procedures and data processing, like querying patient records. They can also assist the doctor or nurse with health evaluations and proper prescription dosages and care. Robots can streamline medical manufacturing production processes, increasing efficiency and precision, as when they are used to create replacement hips, knees, dentures, eyewear, and lenses for glasses. Robots can also contain a form of artificial intelligence to allow them to automate certain processes, which allows them to perform certain functions without the need for human assistance. Okay, so we've spoken about robots and robotics, but what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines. In real life, AI enables machines to learn from experience, adapt to new inputs, and perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. It encompasses technologies like machine learning, natural language processing, like ChatGPT, and computer vision. This slide shows what AI can do in different industries. And I see you all can kind of read that, so I won't go through it. So what are the benefits of having robots around and why should you care? Well, robotics and AI can assist people, again, with daily tasks, enable greater independence and quality of life. They can perform repetitive chores that very few want to do and may be too dangerous for humans. AI-powered devices can monitor vital signs, detect changes in health based on past illnesses and current readings. It can also detect falls and provide emergency assistance or call for help when you can. Companion robots can provide social interaction and emotional support, reducing loneliness for the elderly. So, is there a way to be able to interact with a public AI right now on the internet? Yeah, of course. Okay, with a show of hands, who's heard of ChatGPT? Yep, everybody, right? Everybody. And who's used ChatGPT? Nice. I see the hands going up. Awesome. And who's used it? Fantastic. All right. Well, ChatGPT was released in November 2022 and is a generative artificial intelligence chatbot created by OpenAI. Now, other companies and countries have since created their own version of ChatGPT, which they use for business and government use. At some point in the past, this tech was actually open source. There are pieces of it that are actually still available for open source, and it's available for anyone to use and modify. So you've got software packages, or software companies like Microsoft that have taken derivatives of ChatGPT and actually incorporated it into their own software, like Watson. So what is generative AI? Excuse me. Gen AI is a platform that can respond naturally to human conversation and can serve as a tool for customer service and personalization of customer workflows. For example, you can use AI-powered chatbots, voice bots, and virtual assistants that respond more accurately to customers. OpenAI's ChatGPT is available to the public to use and can generate conversation with human users, while also generating a wide range of text outputs, including articles, software media posts, recipes, computer code, essays, projects, and personal letters. Using the ChatGPT AI models, including a new multimodal AI model called GPT-4o, which can process text, image, and audio inputs. So in practice, this means that you can hold a voice conversation with ChatGPT or a text-based conversation. So are we up to the tech required for robots like from the movie I, Robot? No, not yet. The battery life and local intelligence capability needed for an artificial life form are still not there, but we're getting close. The pictures to the left show Tesla's Optimus and the Boston Dynamics dog robots. And the picture to the right shows a few of the more advanced robots by country, company, weight, and speed. Most all of them have limited battery life and have a need to be directly connected to a higher processing computer, usually via Wi-Fi, to solve equations and have effective communication with their human counterparts. Military robots and drones are more sophisticated and can operate using GPS, allowing a greater range of operability and performance.
I have a question.
If we could save the questions for the end, because I've got a couple more slides to go through, and then you can ask me everything you like, and I'll answer
Okay.
them. All right. So can robots think? How can they communicate? Okay, not on a higher plane like you and I can do, but we can program them to follow rules and perform actions based on commands, responses from programming and communication, and sensory data. For example, these are pictures of my droid at home, C2B5. If C2 is on the move and it detects an object at least 3 feet in front of him, he will stop moving in that direction and go around if possible. In a sophisticated robot, we do expect some type of thinking or error handling of some unexpected issues. Otherwise, it is not a robot, but a sophisticated marionette that we must constantly control, like you would see at Disney World. The more processing power, memory, and sensors we give the robot to control, the better it can navigate its environment, and the less we must do to babysit the droid. Droid balance was a big item that was recently overcome these last few years. That now allows robots to walk, jump, run almost as good as we do. Science fiction author and robot enthusiast Isaac Asimov created the 3 laws of robotics in his publications, aka iRobot, which became a popular movie with the actor Will Smith. In almost every conversation I have about AI and robotics, someone always asks about the 3 laws, which are really 4, as an additional law was included in one of his later publications. So the first law, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. The second law, a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the third law, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. And in a later publication, he actually came out with a 4th law, Law 0. A robot may not harm humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm. So I guess the question is, so do these laws work? And the answer is no, not really. As you would have to somehow teach the robot or AI what a human is, as well as the concepts of empathy, morality, and ethics. These concepts have more to do with feelings of right and wrong and are very difficult for a machine that is not aware of self or self-worth to understand, which is why robots in his books always end up breaking these laws. Robots and AI are great to use as tools for us to get our projects done and are fantastic servants. But I'm sure that none of you would like to be used by them, such as in the movie The Matrix. So do we allow robots to have autonomy? The answer to that question is yes, so long as it is enough to perform its duty and we still have an element of control in case something goes wrong. Do I need to have cybersecurity installed in a robot? After all, they are not a real computer. Absolutely yes. Droids live in the realm of computer networking and the Internet of Things. Since they generally do not work in a closed system, use communication protocols that have been known to be hacked, and have to plug in to obtain most of their live data, they must be protected, especially if they are operating in public or near people. Think of self-driving cars. If they are somehow hacked, they can be driven somewhere not desired by its driver or owner. They can be locked with ransomware, or the hacker can disable sensors and cameras, resulting in possible collisions. Like any computer, droids can be disrupted to follow different rules or be shut down. Safeguards must be put place into the OS, and the communication should be encrypted so as not to allow a rogue signal to gain access to the system. So how can you embrace robots and AI? Well, first, stay informed. Keep up with advancements in technology through classes, the news, workshops, and online resources like this presentation. Don't be afraid. Robots and AI are here to stay, They are just another form of technology, just like the computer was many, many years ago. Be aware. Ask questions when someone brings in a computer or says they'll be using AI in some way to assist you. Ask, how's that going to happen? How is that going to help or solve my issue? Explore. Ask how AI-powered devices and robotics can find solutions that can meet your needs and preferences. And of course, engage. Participate in discussions and provide feedback to developers to improve technologies. So how can you get involved with robotics and AI? There are so many ways to get involved. This slide only names a few places that you can look up right away. Usually there are a few groups right in your own school. I myself am a huge Star Wars fan and belong to the local R2 builders, Wally, and droid builders groups in Florida. We help many people build droids that they show off in Comic Cons, sporting and organization events, and even Disney. If you are interested in building Star Wars droids, you can find the main group on astromech.net and find local groups on Facebook under Droid Builders. So before we get into the questions, I'd like to thank Dr. Hernandez and Dr. Banerjee for inviting me to speak to you all tonight. So I see definitely we have a lot of people with hands ready to rock and roll and ask questions. So let's open it up.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation. I just threw in a fun fact about you, that you actually build these
Yes,
robots that you're showing right now. And you've been
I
doing
do.
that for a long time.
Yeah, and they're both running around the house. My wife just wishes, I mean, we do have a Roomba, but my wife was always asking when they're going to be able to wash the dishes and throw out the garbage. I say, at some point.
Yeah, that's like how they had it in iRobot,
Yeah,
when
exactly.
that the robots were taking care of the humans at that point. I do have a
Exactly.
question to start off myself,
Of course.
because we have several students here who are in cybersecurity. You and I are both in cybersecurity, and you touched on some possible risk with the robots needing to have implemented some kind of cybersecurity
Correct.
within them. Do
Correct.
you think that there will ever be an instance where a robot would go rogue, uh, would be um, uh, would be inserted with some kind of malware that would have some kind of instruction set that, like happened in the movie iRobot? Do you think
Well,
that
I
that will
mean,
ever come to a point that can happen?
I mean, there's always that possibility. And if you read any of Isaac Asimov's books, even though he has the three laws, something always goes awry. There's always an instance where one of the robots actually, finds a way around and he does something he's not supposed to do. Um, so can it happen with us? Yeah, absolutely. And I think even Elon Musk addressed the robotic three laws, and and other notable dignitaries in this particular field have also chimed in on it. And it's not enough. Yeah, you have to build safeguards, of course, into it. So you do have to build things into it so that they don't do certain things. But right now they don't have the self-awareness and intelligence to think for themselves and actually on purpose cause any harm. Can they cause harm by accident? Absolutely. In manufacturing plants, automotive plants, people have lost arms and legs, not through the fault of the robot, but because maybe, it didn't detect someone's limbs. There wasn't enough sensors to say, hey, there's somebody arm here. Maybe I shouldn't go, and perform my function all the way. I need to stop. So these are things that we actually have to build into it. That's why so many want to proceed with caution going into artificial intelligence, and they say that we're going too fast.
Ah,
We're not
okay.
giving the robot or the intelligence enough time to begin to think. But that's a very, very difficult concept. Where you and I, we are aware of our own self-existence. Right now, robots and droids and androids and all they're not. So can they make a mistake that may cause somebody's life? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for that. I see some hands raised. Let me get to the first question that was posed in the chat, and thank you for that insight, Dr. Alvarez. I see
Yes.
a question here that was asked by Paul, and it's a great question, and just wanted to hear your take about it because you mentioned healthcare in one of your slides. It says, one thing I wonder about is how are companies able to train healthcare AI without violating HIPAA? You have to train them on data, but he's never heard of anyone okaying their medical data to be used.
Okay. Well, in a closed system, there, I hate to tell you, but as long as you put somebody's data in a computer system, you're not violating HIPAA, but there are strict guidelines. HIPAA has to do with data, right? Data containment, data privacy for the patient. Um, so, you have to put certain things in place, and there are guidelines within HIPAA in terms of what you have to do in order to safeguard and protect that data. One of the things is, of course, not that data not leaving the boundaries of the United States. It has to stay here. I know that a lot of medical facilities actually want to ship this data out so that they can have others that are lower cost as far as administrators administrate the data. But as far as HIPAA is concerned, no, you're not supposed to do that. Now, as long as you're following the HIPAA guidelines, can you automate something to be able to search that information? Absolutely, yes. It is allowed. So as long as you're following the guidelines, you're pretty much good to go.
I'm sure that as AI continues to evolve, there'll be some changes to HIPAA regulations when it's dealing with artificial intelligence for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. And then that's something that's actually has to be approved by Congress.
Yeah.
So, but they already approved the data to be in electronic form. So it is in electronic form. Is it shared out to multiple places like, your doctor, your dentist, things like that? As long as you sign a waiver saying that this person or that person or your spouse or this doctor can gain access to your data, it's pretty much good to go. So what you're doing at that point is allowing your data to be accessed by another computer system by you doing that. So just be aware.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Dr. Alvarez. Thank you, Paul, for the great question. Let's just
Great
go
question.
to the raised hands first, and then we'll go down the line in the chat. So I
Go
see
for it.
Stan has his hand raised. Stan, do you want to come off of mute and ask your question? Give him a second. If not, Garrett, I see your hand raised. Do you want to come off of mute and ask your question? Give him a second
Stan?
for. All right. That's okay. If you come off of mute, let's just wait for the next question to be asked, and then we'll go from there. So
Oh,
I had threw something in the chat about um, if anyone ever wondered that when they are online and they're chatting with who they believe is someone in customer service, does anyone think that AI is behind it? What is your thoughts about that, Dr. Alvarez?
now what was that again?
No,
Repeat
I
that.
said in the chat, I had asked a question about if anybody was online chatting with who they believe was someone,
Mhm.
do they come away from that interaction thinking that AI was behind it?
There are programs that actually can mimic people. Um, kind of like a catfish situation where you think you're talking to one person, it's actually something else.
Yeah.
So, are there programs that actually out there right now that can mimic people? Yeah, you all have seen it. It's out there in social media where you'll see an actor come out and you'll say, "I'm not really this actor," and I'm not, and he sounds just like that actor. So, there are uh, there is software out there that can actually do it. It doesn't do it really quite well, yet, but there are things out there. So you have to really be very careful when interacting with other people. You have to make sure that you know exactly who you're speaking to. There's nothing better than a good old phone call.
Yeah.
And especially let's say you're going on an interview and you're waiting for a phone call from someone, make sure that the number and the area code is actually from that area. And ask them questions about that interaction or that interview. It's something that only the interviewer would know, and then you'll know that you're talking to the right person. So yeah, you have to be very careful these days.
All right, thank you for that. I have a question in the chat that says, with DeepSeek coming to the market and being open source, what are the plans for the future of AI? And I'm going to say, based on your perspective.
Well, that's just generative AI, okay? That's just a form of artificial intelligence. And what generative AI really is that it's just, a way of speaking with you so that it understands what you're saying and you understand what it's saying. When it goes into actually deep dive into the data that it has, it can only go into whatever database it's using. Of course, OpenAI has a very, very, very large database of information. So we come back with good data. I mean, as a professor, I've used ChatGPT with a lot of success. And I know other companies and businesses also use that and have tailored it toward certain businesses as well. But does it have its own intelligence? Does it go back and actually think on its own and come up with an idea creatively? No. What it does is that it just regurgitates the information that it has and actually kind of changes it a little creatively. But you're just getting back what someone else really has done.
Well, thank you for that. I have another question here where from Sam. It says he didn't get or Sam didn't get the third law. Can you repeat the third law?
Well,
Um,
yeah. So someone actually, let me go back. I'm gonna take a look at.
and while you do that, the follow-up question to that was, is it true that they can make robots that look realistic and that Sam heard that they can make them look and feel like real human skin?
No, not yet. Um, it's interesting. A lot of these, especially on Facebook and Instagram, you see a lot of video being released by the Chinese government. I don't know if you all have realized that a lot of these videos have Asian people in it. They really like showing a lot of misinformation stuff and it almost looks like they have robots that can walk, talk, cook dinner, and do all kinds of stuff. We're getting there. We're not there yet. So skin that actually looks like human skin, no, not yet. And I've seen some of the best robots that are out there. No, not yet. Intelligence, not locally. A lot of these robots are actually connected to a much more sophisticated computer system, which is actually churning all the information and getting it back. Um, so that's why a lot of these, there's not a lot of local intelligence, but they have to connect via Wi-Fi or a direct connection via wire in order to get you back that information. And that includes like Alexa, Amazon's Alexa. And as far as the third law, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws, which means, you know, he's supposed to protect itself. However, if protecting itself means that he's going to harm a person, then no, he can't. He can't do that. Okay,
Got got it.
because it conflicts with the first and second law, which
Well,
means that
somebody,
he cannot harm a human being. But it
yeah,
still
somebody,
doesn't work.
yeah,
It still doesn't.
somebody put some thought into making these rules.
Yeah, well, Isaac Asimov, he's a science fiction author back in, the 50s and 60s, and he came up with a lot of really, really, really good books.
And
Science fiction.
at that time in the 50s and 60s, he came up with this
Yeah,
information. Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Yeah, and in a later publication, he came out with a the fourth law, which kind of made it more general, which meant that a robot cannot harm humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you for that. I have another question by uh, Joseph Scott, and I see Anais is asking a question, but let me ask this first question, and then I'll get to Anais in a second. The next question, what is our progress looking like for quantum computers? Do we have, let me try to see what the question said here. I can't read it too, okay. Do we have any? And about how much would it cost to make one?
That's why only companies like NVIDIA and institutions like government institutions are able to uh it costs billions. It's a lot of money right now. But in terms of the methodology, in terms of how these computers work, at some point will be scaled down. A computer back in, the 50s and 60s used to, require a building and a whole room. That was before the advent of transistors, and now it's in the palm of your hand, right? Your phone is a computer, a sophisticated computer too. It's actually more sophisticated than the computers that they used in the 60s when they blasted off and got to the moon.
Wow, wow. I have let's move on to Anais. I see her hand raised. Anais, do you want to come off of mute and ask your question?
Hi, yes, Dr. Alvarez, I
Hi,
actually kind of
Anais.
have an opinionated question, if that's okay. I
No,
was kind of
please go for
wondering,
it.
I was wondering how you felt about, I know we were talking about like futuristically if robots were kind of able to take, form of humans and be able to do human-like activities like that are day-to-day chore-like, I guess. How do you
Yeah.
think that would play into the role of like I guess, human nature and like what our purpose is here? Like, do you think that would kind of take away from like, the human life of, every day to day we do cook and we do clean and we do all these things. How do you think that would affect like the actual human and like what we feel our role is here?
Well, it's interesting. We have embraced technology little by little by little. Look at the broom and the mop. That's part of technology as well, right? I mean, before you used to have people get on their hands and knees and actually have to scrub the floor. And then they invented the mop. They invented better soap. They invented all kinds of things to help you with that. I mean, you even have the Roomba now, and I know a lot of people that have them, and I have them myself. It comes on at 1 o'clock in the morning and cleans my kitchen. Do I love it? Absolutely. Um, you know, like I was saying, robots are great as, look at your computer. It's great to use as a tool and to help you do the day to day. When it gets to the point where it's making decisions for you, that's when I think that's where we should definitely draw the line. They make great servants, but I don't think any of us would really want to serve under a computer, correct?
You
For
have any
sure. Thank
follow-up
you.
comments, Anais? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Thank you so much for that.
Okay,
Oh, no
perfect.
problem. So, I mean, I think one of your other questions, Anais, was, will we see computers and will they kind of look like us at some point in the future, maybe 50 years from now? I think so. I think so. And I think we'll be able to interact with them and then they'll help us. As long as it doesn't make us a lazy society to the point where we're just sitting down doing nothing and they're doing all the work. And then I see that as a big problem.
That's what I was kind of hinting at as far as like if they take over everything we do, what is really left for us as a society, as like the human race, I guess, for us to do if
Exploration,
they're already taking over
exploration.
jobs and such.
Exploration. I mean, for us to imagine having the time to be able to better yourself, to go to school, to be able to gain additional knowledge, to be able to learn more stuff, to be able to travel, to be so, there's a lot of things that we have to do because we have to do it, right? We have to take care of our homes, we have to take care of our children, we have to, do a lot of things at home. At least the things that are mundane and that are rote, if computers and robots can actually maybe take care of those things for us, I think it would be fantastic. As long as they don't take our humanity, they don't take who we are away.
Right.
Anything that'll free a little bit of time for us to do more stuff for ourselves and enjoy our families more, I'm all for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, I see some other hands up, but let me go through some of the questions in the chat a little bit more. There's a number of them here. Um, I agree with Paul. Paul mentions that error handling is hard enough on basic command line interface programs. He can only imagine it in a robot, how the robot handles errors.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, even my robots have to have some kind of air handling, right? So think of how a small processor works, like let's say in a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino, the Italian microprocessor. It actually loops constantly in a loop, in a loop, in a loop, in a loop. It's not like us that are self-aware and we don't run in a loop. We actually are real time. We respond to things that happen to us real time. We also have memory that actually basically tells us, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, kind of, sticks in and says, hey, don't forget, it's this person's birthday. Oh, at 9 o'clock, you need to do this. So we kind of have a timer inside. A robot doesn't work that way. He works in loops. So you have to write code to be able to monitor the environment. How do you monitor the environment? Well, with sensors, with processes. So, you know, you'll have items within the loop that it constantly checks every couple of milliseconds. It'll check to see did I receive something from another processor? Is there something I'm getting from these sensors, like LiDAR, like the military does? So it's something that's constantly monitoring, constantly monitoring. And when it detects a flaw or detects an item that it should act upon, then there's a subroutine or a function that executes when that happens. So it's all programming.
Nice, nice. I see Ronald Quaid has his hand up. Let me just get to this next question in the chat, and then I'll get to Ronald Quaid next. So
Okay.
Gio mentioned that you mentioned robotic limbs earlier. Uh,
Yes.
Gio wants to know, how do people move these limbs when it's attached to them? Do people need to charge the limbs every day for it to be movable?
It's interesting that there are shields and electrical shields that were created that monitor our electric impulses. So it can detect an electrical impulse and actually do something with it. So there are boards now that are in these limbs that you send your mind sends, like it's sending an electrical impulse to a muscle, but instead it is interpreted by this computer board, and it actually mimics what a muscle would do, which is why the prosthetic arm would move, the hands would go to grip something, and it's not something that you have to program. It's actually coming from your brain. So we have boards now that actually mimic electrical impulses from the brain. And that's something that was created by DARPA about 20 years ago, where they monitored all the impulses that was going on in your head, and they were actually able to pinpoint certain of those impulses and then mimic those and then create a board for it so that we could mimic, an artificial arm and make it do something based on
Awesome.
an electrical impulse from your head.
Awesome. And that was the technology that was developed 20 years ago. Look at that. Yeah. So they've been
Military.
around,
You
it's been
know,
around a
there's
while.
a lot of things that happen in the military that they're already used to, and then eventually it funnels to the public sector.
Uh,
That's
do you,
kind of
do
the
you
way
know
it
if we
works.
have aliens? Just joking. Those are the
I'm not
secrets you
getting
can't
to
tell.
that
Those
one.
are the secrets you can't tell. All right, Ronna Quaid, I see that you had a question. Do you want to come off of mute and ask it?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Hey, Ronaquade, what's going on?
So currently, I'm doing good. So currently, OpenAI is going through lawsuits, right, from authors of books, since they say that OpenAI used their books to train their models and it infringed on their IP. So what do you think going forward? Like, how is AI supposed to like get better if it can't train on human data? Or where can it get the data from if it can't get it from human generated material?
And that's what's going on. I mean, there are companies out there right now that employ people that query this generative AI or their version of a generative AI. And when it comes up with an inadequate answer, they program what it's supposed to say, or they program, hey, this is not the response that I was expecting. This is what you're supposed to do. So there are literally millions of lines of code when you ask generative AI or ChatGPT, you ask it a question, it goes through all these lines of code, all this instance of people making sure that the responses that you get are as close to accurate as possible. So
Awesome.
there are
Yeah, and
people
there's a
programming this
follow-up
thing. There
comment
are
too.
tons. There are
Sorry.
armies of people programming generative AI right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're kind of outsourced to actually offshored to like countries in Africa, the Philippines. There's people there that doing it at low cost. I saw the documentary or kind of a video talking about that them being mistreated, working long hours to be able to do the analysis that you're talking about.
And that's the thing, they need people, right? So, and they have to find people that have enough of a skill set that can work in that area. I've been approached multiple times from multiple companies wanting me to go in there and work in that area to help them um, make their chat GPT or their generative AI better. And to be honest, it's just, although they pay pretty decently, they'll pay anywhere between 20 and 25 bucks an hour. It's one, it's a lot of work. Two, it's a it's a thankless job where you're constantly going in and asking a question and then re-asking it and then asking it differently and then monitoring the response. And then once you get the response, you have to go back and actually give it the command to alter the response so that you get something that's a little bit, more familiar or better. And it's a back and forth. It's a constant back and forth, constant back and forth, constant back and forth. And I looked at that and I was like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. There's
Yeah,
no
I,
because
imagination here. It's just me feeding it data.
yeah.
yeah, I
So
don't know the AI can't tell what the information you're giving it is correct or not. It can't fact check, can
no,
it?
it doesn't. It doesn't. There's no thinking behind it, and that's the problem, right? That's where there's no thought behind it. Like you and I, you know,
Hmm.
I take your information, I parse it, and I say, okay, based on my experience and based on what I know, I give you the answer back. The computer, no, it's based on the set of rules that it's been given and then the data that's available to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
is that what happened with Gemini?
All of it, all Gen AI. That's how it works.
All right, thanks.
All
there's
of
a
it, all of
follow-up.
it.
Yeah, there's a
Watson, all
follow-up.
of it.
There's a follow-up to Ronaquay's. It says that adding to Ronaquay, this is from Alex. I do remember a while ago where the terms of service for Microsoft Word and Google Docs were adjusted to learn off of what we type and get information. He said, not sure what happened to it though, or how factual that is. Now Copilot does it because it's just an AI, but otherwise it's a little weird. It's just kind of a comment that it was made to
Well, I
Ronaquay.
mean that's how all our computer software has gotten better over the years. Is that yeah, that is in the users that you have to accept, the terms of usage. And that's how the software, gets better. There's an error, something breaks down. You go back and you say, okay, well, I'm allowing you to go in, look at the machine language inside my computer, and I'm going to send that to you whenever there's an error. Remember back in the day when Microsoft first came out with their OS, it was constantly, we were getting the blue screen of death constantly, right? Things were always getting messed up. There was a new software that came in, or there was a new patch that came in. All of a sudden, you get the blue screen of death. Well, they learn from that. They learn how to adjust. They okay, well, we have this error. This is what's going on. We can recreate it. And this is now, that's how cybersecurity works, right? We figure out how they're hacking into an area. Okay, we have vulnerabilities. We go in and we create patches for all those things. Same deal with computer software. Same
that's a great
exact
point.
deal.
That's a great point. We're going to move on to the hands that are raised. Garrett actually is asked the question in the chat, but Garrett, do you want to come off of mute and ask the question?
Hey, Garrett,
Yeah, like what about the robot that was retired next to the other robot models?
what robot?
You know, that slide where with that showed like the robots, like the Tesla robots and
Yeah,
whatnot. There
yeah,
was a
yeah,
robot
yeah.
that said retired on them.
You know, they're constantly updating. Right now, they're actually up to I think it's 3.2 as far as the Tesla robot is concerned. They're constantly upgrading. You know, one of the funny things that we have is that, as we teach people how to create droids and they build their R2D2 or they build their C3PO or they build whatever droid they're making and they go, "Yeah, I'm finished. I'm done. He was walking." We go, they're never done. They're never done. You're always going to add something to it. You're going to do something to it to make it more efficient, to be able to drive better, to be able to, communicate with it in a longer distance. So nothing is ever done, really. So you're going to have iterations upon iterations upon iterations. Now, you're thinking of retired as it's gone, it's not going to be used. No, that just means that that version of the robot is retired.
Uh, I
Yeah,
have,
like I saw like the like a robot at like the far left of the
Yep,
robots that said
yep.
retired on them.
Yeah, just that version is retired.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, just that version.
uh, Stan, I see that you have your hand raised. We tried to get to you earlier. Do you still have a question? All right,
Did
No,
he
he's
come off
gonna,
thanks.
the mute?
okay. You said no? Okay.
Stan?
I think Stan said no. Okay.
Can
All right,
he
well,
can he type it out?
okay, I see
I
something.
don't have any more questions.
Oh, okay. All right,
Oh,
no
Stan?
worries. Thank
Okay.
you. All right, I see just a few more questions here and then we'll end today's session. Uh I see that Paul asked a question about, do you think ChatGPT and generative AI has made people overestimate how advanced robotics and AI are as a whole?
You kind of touched on it, how like generative AI is essentially like a really, really, really good search engine. But I
Yes.
think the general public, and this is rough for me because I'm graduating with software development, and all these CEOs think ChatGPT is going to write an entire code base on its own. So, like,
Hmm.
do you think the general public is misinterpreting this advanced search engine as like, oh, we already have robots and this and that? Society's going to be
Yes.
completely different tomorrow. And
Yeah, it's
okay,
complete.
so
It's different. It's not the same thing. It's not even in the same arena.
how far realistically, if it's even possible, do you think we are from a real AI that would do these type of things that people are thinking are going to happen tomorrow?
Well, like I said, in one of the slides, I commented that, they still have to have the local intelligence capability so that it doesn't have to communicate with an external, information source. That has to be figured out first. So it has to have enough memory, enough storage, and enough capability so that it can interact without having this communication link. We're not there yet. Also, battery life. Right now, LiPo batteries can last maybe a day, and then all of a sudden the robot has to recharge somewhere. Otherwise, he's no good anymore. So battery life has to be upgraded at some point, and we're not there yet. So a bunch of things has to happen first in order to, for us to have a Robbie the robot or a B9 like in Lost in Space or real R2D2, you know? We're
Absolutely.
getting there. We're getting there. As you can see, we've got robots that can walk around. Most of the data that's inside a robot right now locally is so that it can move around, so it can sense its environment. It has more than enough, to do right now so that it doesn't trip on, a Lego and falls
Yeah.
flat on its face. But to be able to talk to you with intelligence, not
It
even
actually
close.
just reminded me of something else. I don't know if you've looked into it, but a couple months ago, NVIDIA released or maybe like a month ago, it's like their version of a Raspberry Pi, but it's built like really specifically for AI. So it's like
Yep.
more GPU based.
Yep.
I think they've had it out for a couple years, but this is an upgraded version. Have you played around with anything like that to have
Yes.
embedded AI on any of your robots?
Um, I mean, and again, there's not enough memory on these boards, unfortunately, because you have to have a learning, it has to be a learning robot, right? So that if it goes through a certain area and it goes, okay, I can't get through here, I can get through here, and then it remembers that the next time. So it has to have the intelligence to be able to adapt and then store that information somewhere so that it remembers it the next time. These shields and Raspberry Pis and all this other stuff don't have that yet. So if because it doesn't have that subsystem, it's hard to have it really learn just rudimentary stuff. So, but we like I said, we're getting there. The technology is getting better and better and better. We're getting stuff with more memory, so we could write more complex code, and that complex code gives the droid more intelligence.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Of
for those
course.
insights, Dr. Alvarez. I think in the last chat question, you kind of touched of what you said to answer some of this question that was being asked. I mean, you can add or you can say that what you mentioned kind of relates to it. It says here, as AI continues to grow and advance with the tangible data and enhancements in software, will the architecture of AI computer systems also need to evolve to keep up with the demanding computation? You kind of
Yeah,
touched on that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, hence the quantum computers and things like that. So, our processors keep getting better and better, which means they can process a lot more information. Uh, Look at memory. Memory has gotten to the point where, on a USB stick, you could have you could have a terabyte. For me, that's fantastic because now I could take a memory stick, actually put it in, if there's a USB port on the microprocessor, and I can store experiences and I can, store instructions, right? So the more space I have to be able to store stuff, and then the faster the processing power, then the smarter the robot is going to be.
Awesome. That's a
And the less I
great,
have to do, right? The whole
yep.
thing is so that the robot does it and I don't have to be there with a controller, whether it be Bluetooth or RC, which really should be RC because right now Bluetooth is, their signal is mega saturated. So you really want to go RC. And also RC signals, uh, they can be encrypted.
Nice. Well, thank you for answering every single question that was posed to you and providing your insights. We're going to end this session right now. For everyone that attended, I thank you for joining the session and engaging. Dr. Alvarez, is there any place that students could follow up with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. So, look for Dr. Gary Alvarez out there and you guys have questions or anything like that, or I'm on Facebook under Southern R2 Builders. Um, So, there's a couple of places you guys can find me.
Yep, just search for Dr. Gary Alvarez. All right. Well, thank you for that, Dr. Alvarez. Paul added your LinkedIn profile to the chat. Appreciate that, Paul.
Yeah, they had it on the
And,
Yep, there
flyer.
it is.
Yep, and
Awesome.
thank you. Yep, and thank you again for everyone for attending. And we're gonna end the session. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Alvarez, for
Yeah,
your
thank
time
you.
and the great
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
presentation.
Yeah, it
Thank
means a
you.
lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're
Mhm.
welcome.
Very much. Have a great
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop the recording here.
Okay.